Imagine you're walking down a quiet street in a small Irish town. Shops closed, lights dimming, dogs barking in backyard. It's a normal night, nothing unusual, nothing that signal everything is violently wrong. But somewhere inside the home, or William Street in New Ross, County Wexford, the ordinary will turn into one of the most shocking stories Ireland has heard in a long time. This is a story about Malika Al Khatib, a little girl with a life that should have been full of birthdays, school plays, chips after school, and dreams of rainbows. Instead, her story turns into a nightmare no parent should ever know. Malika was 8 years old, 8 years old and full of life. But one the night of December 1st, 2024, everything changed. Her father, Muhammad al Shakir al Tamimi, already know to the authority from past violent incidents, was inside that same house. In the house, or in the hours before the violence, Malika's mother, Isha al Khatib, had gone out with her daughter for something as ordinary as chicken nuggets and chips. That should have been a happy memory, but it became the calm before a storm. When they returned home, something in the air had shifted. At-Tamimi wasn't calm. He was angry, and within minutes, that anger turned into horror. He first attacked Isha. She was stabbed and badly injured, but little Malika, brave and innocent, ran toward her mother and said, "Stop, stop hurting her." She tried to protect her mom. That should tell you everything you need to know about this brave little girl heart. Instead of stopping, her father pulled her in front of him, held her there, and cut her throat. Held their child in front of him, locked eye with his partner, and then he did what no parent should ever do. When the guards arrived later that night, they found a scene that was terrifying and still deeply sad. Malika was gravely wounded. Isha was badly hurt but still alive. The guards rushed in, called emergency services, and tried to make sense of what just happened. Soon, detectives pieced together what they could from statements, physical evidence, and the emergency call logs. They confirmed that this was no accident, this was deliberate, and this was no stranger crime. It was a crime from inside the home itself. Malika was rushed to hospital, but her injuries were too severe. The little girl who ran out of bed to protect her mother did not survive. The community was stunned. Shocked rippled through the neighbors, through her school where she was a student, and through families who struggled to understand how such a thing could happen in their quiet town. At first, the public only saw headlines: "Girl dies in Wexford attack." But then the story got darker as the facts come out. Al Tamimi had previously hurt Aisha in the past. Forces outside reports later showed guards has been involved before. People close to the family said the relationship had a history of control and violence. This was not just a sudden eruption, it was a tragedy born from a deep buildup of hurt. In October 2025, he appeared before the Central Criminal Court and pleaded guilty, not just to murdering Malika but also to the attempt of murder of her mother. That plea stopped the court in its track because when someone admits the truth in court, there is no need for long jury battles. Facts were laid bare. Then come the courtroom moments that people will never forget. Isha, Malika's mother, stood in court. She looked at the man who had once been her partner, the man she trusted, the man whose name was also on her daughter's birth certificate, and she told the story of that night. How she looked up and saw him smiling when he hurt their daughter. A moment frozen forever in her mind. She told the court how Malika has pleaded for her to stop hurting his mom. She told how her daughter tried to run. She told how her daughter's life was taken in front of her eyes. She spoke about how a moment like that never leaves a person. She described flashbacks that follow her, nightmares that never stop, and the intent of losing a child when you should be planning her future. The judge didn't just look at the facts, he weighed them, and he looked at the violence that tore apart a family. He spoke about how a home should be a safe place on earth and how this home was anything but safe. And then he handed down a sentence as strong as the law allows. First, a 10-year sentence for the attempt murder of Aisha, because in Ireland, serious felonies get serious consequences. Then, after that 10 years, the life sentence began. A life sentence, a sentence that means the man convicted will never walk free again. The courtroom was still, not loud, not dramatic, quiet. Actually, because when a story is this real, the silence carries weight. Friends, family, neighbors all knew something has ended forever. Malika's laughter, her future, the plans she was never going to make, gone. And on the streets of New Ross, a shock stayed. People looked at neighbors differently. They wondered about struggles hidden behind. They asked questions about warning signs and what happened when pain stayed inside a home too long. This isn't a story about shock value. This is a story about reality, about how violence can hide, about how bravery can show in a small moment, like a little girl trying to protect her mother, and about how justice can name what happened, even if it can rewind time. Malika's life did not end the way it should have. Her story ended in a courtroom, in a tidal wave of facts and loss and grief. But those facts are important. They tell us what happened, and they remind us how fragile life can be when the danger comes from inside the walls that are means to protect us. If you want fast updates on Irish true crime, subscribe. We cover everything before it hits mainstream headline. Thank you.